Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks, where today I cover the first part of the week in pro wrestling. And that's right, going to be covering Raw, NWA Power, AEW Dynamite, Impact Wrestling, and MLW Fusion. It's going to be a hell of a week, and let's get started with Monday Night Raw, which kicks off with Dominic Mysterio and Rhea Ripley. Dom tries to cut a promo, but of course he gets booed out of the building. So Rhea takes over, pretty much putting down Cody Rhodes in his match against Dom for Money in the Bank. This brings out Cody, pretty much saying, "Look, Dom, obviously your sneak attacks have been affected against me. I have no counter for it. However, at Money in the Bank, it's going to be you and me, one-on-one. There's no running. There's no hiding. There's no sneak attacks. So, what are you going to bring at me? Or are you just continue with your sneak attacks? While I do have your buddy Damian Priest tonight, who is stepping up, you keep sneak attacking me. So, let's see what Mama's little boy has in store," which that line got me. Like, that line was a great line. I'm kind of excited for that matchup, but we'll see what happens. First matchup of the evening, you got Shinsuke Nakamura taking on Ricochet, and Bronson Reed is sitting at ringside in a very oversized suit. Like, he looks like a Don boss, and hopefully they do something with Mr. Reed in the near future. He is fantastic. This match was pretty much, what you expected to be. A lot of high spots, a lot of good back and forth. At one point, they do spill out of the ring where Bronson Reed is sitting ringside, and they both just attack him. And considering he's not in the match, doesn't really count. He tries to get involved in the match, but then he gets thrown out. And then match continues. And then after a sliced bread and a beautiful shooting star press, your winner, Ricochet, who has a bit of momentum going into Money in the Bank. We then get a Matt Riddle interview, and he officially issues the challenge for Gunther and his Intercontinental title for Money in the Bank. See my predictions video for what I think about that. And, Gunther, actually, Ludwig Kaiser interrupts, pretty much says, you've been our victim for the past couple of weeks now. What makes you think you can step up at Money in the Bank and take Gunther's title? And Matt Riddle pretty much says, "Oh, I have my ways," and then just walks off. So we're still kind of in the transition period between silly Matt Riddle and serious Matt Riddle. It's still coming. We then get Adam Pearce backstage. Looks like he's on the phone. And then Dom and Rhea walk in. He pretty much says, "Yeah, what's up, guys? What do you need?" Rhea pretty much says, Dom wants a match with somebody tonight to show Cody Rhodes what he's up against at Money in the Bank." Adam Pearce says, "Great. Who do you have in mind?" Rhea turns to Dominic, whispers in his ear. Then she says, "We'll get back to you," and walks off, which that's coming up in a little bit. Next up, we got Ronda Rousey versus Raquel Rodriguez, and it wasn't a bad match. It wasn't really a good match either. It was very, very short. And I know they're going to face each other tomorrow and for the tag titles, but I wish there was something more I could talk about with this match. Obviously, Shayna Baszler tries to get involved. Liv Morgan stops her. Then after a roll-up, your winner, Ronda Rousey. And then they get out of Dodge. You know, nothing much for this matchup that has, you know, implications for a title match coming up at a pay-per-view. So, I don't know. Next up, we got a Finn Balor vignette, which shows, Finn Balor's win at SummerSlam for the Universal title. And he pretty much says, yeah, I've been waiting for this for 7 years. I want my payback. And now I'm going to get it against you. Then we get a Seth Rollins in ring promo. Pretty much says, yeah, we got a special guest in the crowd tonight, NXT champion Carmelo Hayes, who, sitting at ringside waving, thanks him for having his back on NXT against Finn Balor. Pretty much hyping up Carmelo Hayes. Brings up his match against Finn Balor. And then he talks about all the attacks Balor has taken out on Balor. Pretty much says, yeah, Finn, I'm still here. I'm still standing. You didn't finish the job. And that Money in the Bank, I will. And before he can finish that, Finn Balor comes in with a chair from ringside. Seth Rollins sees him. They start brawling for a bit. And then Carmelo Hayes gets involved and chases off Finn Balor. And that sets up Carmelo Hayes in his Raw debut against Finn Balor later on, which we'll get into that. We then get a Tommaso Ciampa interview, pretty much recapping, yeah, I've spent the last 9 months just rehabbing, waiting to get back in the ring. And then he talks about how The Miz didn't reach out to him when he was hurt, and now he's coming back, and he's not playing second fiddle to The Miz. This leads to what was scheduled to be Miz vs. Ciampa Part 2, but Miz then jumps Ciampa on the ramp during Ciampa's entrance, so that match doesn't go down. So, building to something in the future, and Ciampa is stuck in the Miz's mid-card vortex. So, hopefully he gets out of there and we get DIY back together. We then get Imperium backstage. It is revealed that Gunther, Matt Riddle is on for Money in the Bank. And then who rolls up, gets a little revenge for, Imperium just showing up from out of nowhere during their interviews. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They pretty much say, oh, look how does it feel to be on this side now? And of course that takes off them. And then Sami Zayn challenges Gunther to a match, which, yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm down. Then Kaiser pretty much says, yeah, look what we did to Matt Riddle for weeks. You're going to be lucky to still be standing after this match with Gunther. Now, next up, we got Dominic Mysterio taking on, who is revealed to be his opponent, Akira Tozawa. Very nice to see him on TV. And Tozawa starts out strong, looking like he's going to upset Dom at every turn. But then Rhea causes a distraction. Dom with a big old elbow strike into a frog splash for the ultimately quick victory. So, doesn't look like Tozawa's going to be having a huge push in the near future. We then get a Viking Raiders vignette, how they're looking to hurt Alpha Academy when the time comes. Then we get the Women's Money in the Bank Summit, which features every participant in the Women's Money in the Bank this year. Bayley, Io Sky, Becky Lynch, Trish Stratus. I know I'm missing some. I do apologize. And they pretty much have a promo off. We get Zelina Vega pretty much saying, look, you heard the reaction I had in Puerto Rico. You've seen how I took on Rhea Ripley. You guys are pretty much overlooking me, but yeah, I'm probably going to win. Which, I wouldn't mind that. Then Trish Stratus has the mic. She pretty much says, look, you're all going to be a part of history. You're going to be a part of my first ladder match. And you're all going to say, thank you, Trish. Then she turns specifically to Becky. She says, yeah, Becky, I know you're not a little girl, but you're not really a woman. You're the man. So will you be man enough to say, thank you, Trish? Then Becky Lynch just rolls up on her, starts things off, big old brawl, to end the segment, which, that went on for far too long. Like, time could have been cut for that, for something a bit more important. Then we get Becky Lynch backstage running into Rhea Ripley, where she pretty much calls Rhea a secondary main eventer. You've been nothing but Dom's mommy for too long, and you haven't had a worthy challenger, so I'm going to step up once I win Money in the Bank. Which, yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing Becky versus Rhea coming up. Next up, we got Gunther taking on Sami Zayn in what was a beautiful match. Really good working together. You got Kaiser trying to get involved, but KO stops him. Out comes Giovanni Vinci, and he's got a couple of crutches, still selling the ankle lock from Riddle. Then, near the end of the match, Vinci hits Sami Zayn with a crutch while the ref was distracted. Then Gunther hits his powerbomb for the victory. A very, very good match. A little overbooked, but yeah, I enjoyed it. Then post-match, Kevin Owens then gets the jump on Imperium for a bit. Numbers game catches up to him. And then Matt Riddle makes the save, which, okay, that's pretty cool. We then get a nice little Carmelo Hayes vignette. And then we see the Alpha Academy in the training room, including Otis on a little stationary bike, which that looks funny as heck. Says they have a plan for Valhalla and the Viking Raiders. They just need to step up. We then get a short Natalya promo, which, thank goodness, pretty much says, yeah, I've been through the ringer for the past couple months. I've got beaten by Rhea. I've been humiliated in front of a lot of people. But that isn't my toughest battle. My toughest battle is up here. So, I've been broken down, but I'm still standing. She then challenges Rhea Ripley to a rematch in, I'm going to say, the next couple weeks. So, that could be a fun one. Hopefully they gave Natalya a little bit more time, because, you know, these couple of second matches really don't do anything for me. Next up, we got Finn Balor versus Carmelo Hayes, and I'm going to say this, I don't normally watch NXT these days because, you know, I was an NXT Black and Gold fan when guys like Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Nakamura Finn Balor, when they were all down there, that was my favorite. It was like a super indie promotion within the WWE. And then since then, they have gone through a rebrand as NXT 2.0. Although now that's done, it's kind of a mix. So this is my first encounter with a Carmelo Hayes match. And I will say, he made me a fan. Like, he was absolutely fantastic. He was crisp. He and Balor worked really, really well together. However, after a gutbuster and a coup de grace, your winner, Finn Balor. So, I'm a little miffed that Carmelo Hayes, the NXT champion, lost here, but maybe we got something else coming for him. We then get a Cody Rhodes backstage interview, and making his Raw debut, Cody Rhodes' dog, Pharaoh. Now, if you don't know Pharaoh, he's, Cody Rhodes' dog, and he's been part of the entourage for Cody Rhodes' kind of early-ish AEW matches, which I thought was kind of cool until they set off pyro, scaring the poor boy. So, good to see Pharaoh back. You're a good boy. Anyway, in the Cody interview, we pretty much get him saying, I want to get past Judgment Day. I want to get past Dom so I can set my focus back on not only Brock Lesnar, but Roman Reigns. So the goal is still there to finish the story. And then he pretty much says, Judgment Day are all over Money in the Bank. Let's see what Dom is capable of. And end of that segment. We then get Cody Rhodes versus Damian Priest in our main event for Raw. And honestly, this was another great outing by these two. Damian Priest going more for the power. Cody going for more agile moves. It was definitely a nice back and forth they had with one another. Dom and Rhea then come ringside. It looks like they're going to distract Cody, including at one point Dom grabbing onto Cody's foot, trying to attempt a Cody cutter, which I thought that was going to be the finish. But in the end, we got the Cody cutter into the Crossroads for your winner, Cody Rhodes. And then post-match, Dominic Mysterio jumps Cody to end the show. So, that's it for Monday Night Raw. Next up, we got NWA, I guess, kind of Power. It's still part of the Australia tour from, well before the Crockett Cup. It's The World is a Vampire, which is a concert series by the Smashing Pumpkins, in which the NWA is associated because their owner is the lead guitarist. I'm not sure what he is. Not Cord Power. Anyway, our first match is a no disqualification match. So weapons are legal. You have the Bone Collector, Jake Taylor, taking on Thrillbilly Silas Mason. And honestly, this was a pretty good house battle. Not too many weapons. You have the kendo stick for a little bit. You have a little table spot. But overall, after a very quick thrill ride, your winner, Thrillbilly Silas Mason. Now, next up, we got a triple threat women's match. As you have Asanya, I believe that's her name. I do apologize if I've butchered that. Natalia Markova and Kenzie Page. And this was definitely a very well paced, but still also kind of quick match. If that makes any sense. Definitely some good back and forth between the three of them. But then after a Shining Wizard and Kenzie Page, yeeting their opponent off, your winner, Kenzie Page. And, that was interesting. I was hoping these three would get a little time, especially with Kenzie Page interfering with that first match. But it is what it is. Next up, we got Alex Taylor versus Iman Amin. I don't really know how to pronounce that name. I do apologize. Bit of a cruiserweight action, and it started out fine. But then midway point, you see the ref put up the X, which that means an injury somewhere happened, so it looks like Alex Taylor got hurt at some point. So, match is off. Billy Silas Mason then comes in, tries to take out, actually no, it's Kerry Morton that comes in, but then Caveman Ugg, which is a fantastic name for a wrestler, comes in and makes the save. Next up, we got the NWA Tag Team titles on the line, as La Rebellion takes on the Natural Classics. And this was definitely my favorite match of this episode. Both teams worked really well together. They were crisp and clean. But then, after a muscle buster into a 450, your winners, still NWA Tag Team Champions, La Rebellion. Now, you would have thought that would have been the main event, but there is something added on, as Kerry Morton is in the ring. Pretty much says, Herman Axman, whatever your name is, you hurt my friend, so I'm here to hurt you. Let's have a match. So that match is on for the NWA Junior Heavyweight title. And it was definitely a really good back and forth match. Very quick paced, but pretty well paced as well. Giving Aman more time than he really did in the previous bout. But then after a big old roll up, your winner, Kerry Morton. That's NWA Power. Pretty entertaining episode. I'm gonna be hopefully waiting for some new content from them coming soon. Now, next up, we've got AEW Dynamite, in which we start off with a couple of hard hitters. We got Jon Moxley taking on the Stone Pitbull, Tomohiro Ishii. And boy, oh boy, they beat 7 Shades of Dang out of one another. Just big move after big move. Both got busted open. At one point, Eddie Kingston comes down, because the rest of the Blackpool Combat Club are at ringside. I mean, besides Bryan Danielson, who had a tough break at Forbidden Door. Get well soon, Dragon. Can't wait to see you back. But, the entire rest of the match, you have Eddie Kingston and Claudio just staring daggers at one another. It's great tension. Meanwhile, Moxley and Ishii are just beating the heck out of each other. And then after a couple of Death Riders, your winner, Jon Moxley. And then Moxley, who is being jawed at by Eddie Kingston, pretty much saying, oh, look, you did it all by yourself, all on your own. You don't need these guys. Talking about the Blackpool Combat Club. So Mox just shoulders him, walks right through Eddie Kingston to the back. Speaking of in the back, in the weirdest looking parking lot I've ever seen, We'll have Adam Cole, baby. And he's getting ready to see some people tonight. Rolling up in his Mercedes SUV, I guess. MJF pretty much says, hey, Cole, congratulations on getting sick before Forbidden Door. Wish I thought of that. Then Cole pretty much says, yeah, dude, I really was sick. And then MJF is like, yeah, right. Basically playing off that as a story, which I'm okay with. Then MJF pretty much says, look, I think we got off on the wrong page in this whole blind tag team tournament thing. If we're going to be the champions, we gotta build our confidence up. We gotta get to know each other. But then, I also got a surprise for you. He goes back into his car, brings out the weirdest looking t-shirt in the world that pretty much says, I'm better than you, in MJF font. Baby! In Adam Cole font. It's pretty much Y2AJ tag team, if you remember that. So, that's funny. That causes Adam Cole to walk off. We then get a Jon Moxley, not even really an interview. It's a kind of backstage argument with Renee Paquette, aka his real life wife. They're arguing about, look, you gotta get this Eddie Kingston thing in order. He only wants what's best for you. Eddie Kingston rolls up. He starts yelling at Moxley, look, you don't need these guys. You don't need them. That guy back there, Claudio, is an ass. You don't need him. That causes Moxley to walk off, along with the Blackpool Combat Club. Renee then turns to Kingston, pretty much tells him, look, he's your friend. You gotta help me figure this out. And yeah, that's that. Next up is a very interesting six-man tag as Orange Cassidy teams not with his best friends, as they're off in Europe promoting Fight Forever. He gets a couple of all-stars as the AAA Mega Champion El Hijo del Vikingo, and they are joined by Keith Lee, who is no longer has the gray beard. He's all shaved up. He's ready to go. And they are taking on members of the JAS. You got Daniel Garcia, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker. And, yeah, this was less than a comedy match than I thought it was going to be. All six guys that worked really, really well together, including Keith Lee just demolishing people when he eventually gets in. At one point, Vikingo misses a top rope move and then dives into Keith Lee. It looks like they're going to be at odds. Keith Lee brings him up and just swings him at his opponents, which, that was interesting, man. That was so good. Then after the Supernova, which is a great name for Keith Lee's finisher, your winners, Orange Cassidy, Vikingo, and Keith Lee. So, nice little match to continue the program. Then we get an Elite backstage promo, pretty much saying, yeah, we're feeling good after our match at Forbidden Door, but tonight we got a trios open challenge. Up walk the Dark Order, pretty much saying, hey, Paige, why are you hanging out with these guys for now? Why don't you call us anymore? Why don't you tell us your plan? Paige is trying to talk himself out of it, and Dark Order pretty much accepts the challenge, while Paige is trying to backpedal a little bit, and he's like, okay, we can have a 12-man tag. We can take on anyone else. Let's go. But then Silver's like, no, the time for that is over. We're going to see you in the ring a little later on. Because tonight, we're not friends, we're opponents, which comes into play, don't you worry. Next up, we got Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara interview, in which, Jericho hypes up the Painmaker gimmick, which, it's fine, I guess. And he calls Sting, Painmaker isn't a dream, it's your worst nightmare. And this promo was pretty much dominated by Jericho, with Sammy saying pretty much nothing. Which, it definitely seems like slower and slower Sammy Guevara is on the outs with the Jericho Appreciation Society. So, we shall see where that goes. Next up, we got the Dark Order being represented by Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, and Alex Reynolds, taking on the Elite, which is the Young Bucks and Hangman Page. Now, at least for the beginning, when you had Hangman Page in the ring, looking across from the Dark Order, he doesn't want to attack his friends at first, so he would tag himself out to the Young Bucks, who would take them on. But eventually, you have Page in the ring alongside Evil Uno, and Uno just hitting him with some stiff shots. Which then that wakes up Adam Page, and he starts fighting back. Tries for a buckshot lariat, misses. Hits the Deadeye. Bucks come in and hit the BTE trigger into the buckshot lariat. Your winners, the Elite, the Elite. And while the Elite are celebrating, the Blackpool Combat Club and Konosuke Takeshita come out and jump them from behind. And while that's happening, the Dark Order are heading up the ramp. They're like, yeah, this isn't for us. You're on your own. That brings out Eddie Kingston, but the numbers are too great. You have Jon Moxley with microphone. Pretty much says, hey, Elite, it's time to finish this story. It's time to finish our feud. So, I'm going to say it was like July 25th or so. We're going to bring back Blood and Guts, which, if you don't know what Blood and Guts is, it's team versus team. Usually 4-on-4, sometimes 5-on-5. It's double ring, steel cage, no DQ. Participants from either team alternate going in the cage at timed intervals. Once everyone's in the ring, in the cage at the same time, that's when the match starts. And then that's when pinfall and submission count. So, this is going to be interesting. We then get a nice, quick Owen Hart Cup vignette, which I'm definitely excited for. We then see back in the garage Adam Cole. He's waiting on MJF. In comes Roderick Strong. He pretty much says, yeah, you can't trust MJF, right? Cole pretty much retorts, yeah, I know that, but I want to see where this goes, and I want to see if I can play the game a little bit. In comes MJF. He pretty much says, hey, Cole, you ready to go? Turns to Roderick Strong. Oh, hey, generic white guy. Which, honestly, that got me a little bit. That was pretty funny. MJF then turns back to Cole, pretty much says, hey, you ready to go? Cole says, yep. They get into his car, and they drive off. So, I hope we do get to see some MJF, Adam Cole, out on the town videos for AEW. Or at least BT being the Elite on the YouTube. That'd be funny. We then get a Jungle Boy Jack Perry promo. And as his music's playing, he gets on the mic, pretty much says, no, stop, music, stop playing. Pretty much says, you fans ruined that song for me. So we're not hearing it ever again, which gets a pretty sizable amount of boos. Then he pretty much says, yeah, I'm still young, I'm still making money, but now I turned to Hook. Pretty much says, yeah, I didn't turn on Hook, y'all turned on me, and I wasn't just going to sit around and watch Hook hold the FTW title over my head. And then he pretty much says, yeah, I know the FTW isn't officially recognized by AEW, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to take it from you, Hook. And before he can get any further, out comes Hook, who chases him out of the arena, including a wild Superman dive into the back of the car that drives off. So, we're going to get Hook versus Jungle Boy at some point. That should be a fun one. Next up, our semi-main event. It was supposed to be the women's bracket for the Owen Hart Cup. It was supposed to be Ruby Soho versus Britt Baker. Rematch from the finals at last year's Owen Hart Cup. But it looks like Britt Baker got caught whatever Adam Cole had before Forbidden Door. So she got sick. So that match will be coming up next week. So tonight, Ruby Soho takes on Alexandra Nicole, who is a local to Winnipeg. And this match kind of starts off all Ruby. Nicole tries to fight back, but ultimately, after a lockjaw, which is Britt Baker's finishing move, your winner, Ruby Soho. The Outcast then spray paint an L on Nicole. And then Ruby Soho gets on the mic. Pretty much reiterates, yeah, this was not supposed to be my opponent tonight. It was supposed to be Britt Baker, but she got sick. And yet somehow this match is still on. I should be moving on automatically. And yet Dr. Britt Baker gets whatever she wants because she's the golden child. So instead of bitching more about it, next week, Dr. Baker, I'm taking you out. We then get a weird backstage promo from QTV, including Johnny Mundo, aka Johnny TV. They hype up his upcoming opponent, which I don't know if it's going to be anybody, but whatever. Next up, in our main event for Dynamite, we got the Painmaker, Chris Jericho, alongside Sammy Guevara, taking on Sting and Darby Allin in a Texas Tornado match. So that means no tags, no DQ. However, the match has to finish in the ring. And this was definitely a brawl, at least between Sammy and Darby. Jericho and Sting looked a little awkward out there. I'm not going to say what really got me, but they weren't as crisp as they usually are. And I know both of these guys are a little older, but at one point, Jericho is set outside on the table. Darby Allin was going to go up and dive onto him, but then Sting's like, no, you get down. A big old splash onto Sammy through the table, but it did look like something happened on the other side. So hopefully Stinger's okay. Sting countered the Codebreaker into the Scorpion Deathlock for the submission win for he and Darby Allin. So that is it for AEW Dynamite. That one felt a little off, but it's just coming post pay-per-view, so hopefully we get a little something to build up to All In, which is next. That should be fun. Alright, next up we got Impact Wrestling, and we start off with the X Division title on the line as Trey Miguel takes on Chris Sabin. And honestly, this was definitely a very well-paced match. They looked really good together. However, about halfway through, when Chris Sabin was about to hit the cradle shock on Trey Miguel, we had a big return. Trey Miguel's former tag team partner, Zachary Wentz. That's right, the two-thirds of the Rascals are reunited under Impact, and they pulled off one of these. Wentz attacked Chris Sabin, which caused the DQ, so Sabin keeps the title. Which, we'll see where this goes from here. Although we did get a Rascals promo afterwards, where Trey Miguel pretty much says, I'm moving past the X Division title. Me and Zach here are going for the titles we never really lost, in which the Rascals versus the ABC. Yes, please. So, that's going to be a fun one. Before the next match starts, we have Deonna Purrazzo sitting on commentary as we have an intergender match. So we got a woman versus a man, as we have Trinity versus Jay Vidal. And honestly, tons of interference from Vidal's group in Giselle Shaw and I forget her name. And obviously Trinity tries to fight around them, eventually gets the opportunity, hits the Heat Seeker, which is a great move, into the Starstruck submission for the tap-out victory. Then Giselle Shaw and her heavy then come in, start destroying Trinity. Purrazzo gets up from commentary, but doesn't get in the ring to help her at first. Then she eventually does get in and makes the save. Next up, we have Moose sitting backstage, getting ready for whatever. In comes Myers and the Good Hands, in which it has just been revealed that he, Myers, Rich Swann, Sami Callihan, and Subculture are going to be challenging the ABC at Slammiversary. Myers pretty much says, Moose, I knew you'd come around, see things my way. We're going to be the new tag team champions. Then Moose pretty much gets up and says, it's going to be our titles, not theirs, pointing to the Good Hands. And he pretty much says, look, if we're going to win these, we got to ditch the dead weight. In which Myers pretty much says, I'm done. Which that leaves the Good Hands in the locker room looking a little sad. We then get Johnny Swinger and Zicky Dice backstage celebrating Swinger's first victory. Then because Zicky Dice is now Swinger's personal referee, in which he just won a match on Before the Impact, which I'm sorry I don't watch. Then another ref comes in, pretty much says, Zicky, I saw what you did on BTI. You fast counted. So Santino told me to tell you guys that this match doesn't count. So you're still at 0. And Zicky, if you try this again, I'm going to strip you of your colors. So that's going to be an interesting story going forward. We then get Lio Rush making his Impact debut, taking on Jack Price, who is definitely the bigger opponent, but Rush ultimately defeats him no problem after the final hour frog splash to pick up the victory. We then get an interesting Dango interview in which he brings up Santino's kind of sketchy history, how he laughed at the Boogeyman when he was at OVW and got slapped around by Jim Cornette. And then he insults Santino's daughter, who is apparently in the business. I'm not sure where, though. So, then we go immediately into Santino promo. Primo says, yeah, I have enough on my plate running Impact. I don't need to get in the ring anymore. However, for Slammiversary, I'm going to take you on. It's going to be you versus me. I'm going to humiliate you and show you that I'm not just a joke. I can wrestle. In which, another Dango Santino match. I don't need it. I don't know. That doesn't really interest me. Then we get Eddie Edwards and Frankie Kazarian backstage. Kaz is questioning Eddie Edwards' loyalty as a tag team due to the actions of them, both he and Alicia Edwards last week. Eddie retorts, look, I tried to be on the same page as you last week, but your ego got the better of you, so I think we need to be better off as opponents. In which, interesting gymnastics there. We'll see what happens. Next up, we got one half of the Knockouts Tag Team Champions, Kyle and King, taking on Masha Slamovich. And honestly, this was a really good match out of both ladies. At one point, Masha Slamovich is distracted by Wilde, who has a sleeper on her ringside. Then that brings out the attack from Kylan King. And then that leads right into the snowplow for a victory for Masha Slamovich. Then in comes Taylor Wilde to help kill Kylan King with a beatdown. Then out, making the save, is Killer Kelly, who still has that dog collar on her, chases both the tag champions off. We then get Slamovich and King face to face. King then wraps the chain around Masha Slamovich's neck, and Masha leads Killer Kelly out of the ring backstage, which I have seen a little discourse online about this, saying, oh, this is sexual, this is a lesbian relationship. No, it isn't. It's two warriors connected by this chain, connected by war, and using it to become a well-oiled machine against a common enemy. That's all it is. There's nothing sexual about it. So next up, we got a little Scott D'Amore promo showing how many people he helped train, going through his own legacy as a wrestler, which isn't that great, but apparently he was in the WCW power plant, which that's kind of nutty. And while he never got his shot as a top guy, he earned his living and he made his way in the business. So then we go to a live action promo from Scott D'Amore. Pretty much says, yeah, I have no idea if I'm ready to go in the ring this time around. It's been a little while, but I've been in training. The Motor City Machine Guns have been helping me out. And I'm as ready for Slammiversary as I'll ever be. So, nice little promo from Scott D'Amore. That brings in the Good Hands. They pretty much say, oh, Scotty, I don't care about this. It's because of you that Brian Myers left us. It's because of you that so many of our mentors pushed us aside. and then they challenge Scott D'Amore to a match. Scotty pretty much says, look, I'm just going to be wrestling at Slammiversary. However, I do have a monster lined up, ready to go. PCO. That should be a good one. Next up, you got Yuya Uemura taking on Kenny King. And before the action can start, we see Joe Hendry messing around in the production truck, pretty much saying, yeah, on my signal, you're going to play this. So, we'll see what is up with that. Nice little well-paced match. It had a little bit of mix of X Division style, kind of mixed with strong style from over in Japan. But inevitably, after a weird-looking royal flush, like, Kenny King did not hit that flush. Your winner, Kenny King. And that brings out Joe Hendry. Who says, yeah, I have a gift for you. In the term of a music video. And you know what that means. So he plays the music video, pretty much going over and over Kenny King's history as a wrestler. But there's one spot in 2011 blacked out. And it's revealed in 2011 he was a stripper. So, that tickled my fancy a little bit. No real mention of WWE here. So, Joe Hendry. This is Joe Hendry, of course, once again, playing some mind games with Kenny King. So, next up, in our main event segment, we have Nick Aldis promo. He invites Alex Shelley out. Pretty much says, look, Shelley, before you come in here with me, I don't want an unsafe work environment. Why don't you go over, sit in the crowd while I explain myself? So that's exactly what Shelley does, calling himself the People's Champion. And then he pretty much says, look, you're pretty much a hero to all these guys in the crowd, but you're starting to believe your own propaganda, as in that all-star tag team match. Chris Sabin was struggling, he was ready to go, and then you were there to take the tag instead of me, playing the hero, getting it all done by yourself, and that pissed me off. In which, I'm going to say this, that's a weak reason to turn Aldis heel, but I'm interested to see where this goes. Shelley then gets up and says, look, dude, I know you're a little disappointed for that tag match, but that isn't a reason to attack me. However, at Slammiversary, for this, I'm going to put you in your place. Then, from behind, Leo Rush attacks Shelley. That leads to Nick Aldis joining in. Chris Sabin then comes out, makes the save. So it looks like Slammiversary, we're going to have Leo Rush versus Chris Sabin for the Impact X Division Championship. And, that is it for Impact Wrestling. Final mode. Don't worry, it's not going to be that long. We got MLW Fusion, which was a pretty dang good show. We kick off with women's action as Clara Canaris, I do hope I'm pronouncing that right, I do apologize if I'm not, taking on the debuting Mandy Leon, who is now with Raven and The Calling. Now, it does start off Mandy Leon with the upper hand. Clara does try to fight back a little bit, but end of the day, Mandy is too much. Hits the astral projection, and then the even flow DDT, which is my favorite DDT maybe ever, for the victory. We then get a Mance Warner promo. He's in the parking lot with Matthew Justice, pretty much saying, look, we don't got any more beers. I want a drink. I want to be ready for Sam Adonis and the strap match. Where's Manders? So Manders then rose up. He pretty much says, dude, I got something for you. Gives him the leather strap that his pa used on his farm. And he's ready to go. Then the tag team champions, that's Juicy Finau and Lance Anoa'i, roll up. And they're pretty much like, yeah, we're buddies, right? Let's see what we can do against one another. So the Second Gear crew challenge the Samoan SWAT team for the tag team titles, and the Samoan SWAT team accept. We then get to see in the parking lot Alex Hammerstone rolling up. So that's that. We then get to see Microman and Willie Mack, who are at the time enjoying some Dunkin' Donuts, having a nice day out, when Mr. St. Larock, who is Microman's manager, rolling up, pretty much saying, oh, look at this. Why are you eating this junk? You're on a special diet. I'm going to take this out of your paycheck. He then also takes the donuts, which is pretty funny. Then we got a short and sweet Jacob Fatu promo. He pretty much says, look, me and the rest of the Samoan SWAT team, we're bathed in gold. We're now bulletproof. And we're coming to wherever you guys are. Next up is the leather strap match. We got Sam Adonis versus Mance Warner. And boy oh boy was this a brutal match. As they kept whipping each other with the strap. However, Sam Adonis was a little bit smart as he well, this is the kind of stupid one where you have to touch all the turnbuckles to win. So Sam Adonis and Mance Warner went separate ways, touched different sides of the turnbuckles, each one down to one. You had the last turnbuckle Sam Adonis needed covered by a door. Warner then spears Sam Adonis through the door, in which he ends up touching that turnbuckle to get the victory. And of course, Mance Warner doesn't exactly like that. So a little later on in the night, he challenges Sam Adonis to a country whipping match, which is then set for Never Say Never, which should be a good show. We then get a weird MLW expose in which they try to figure out who's the money man behind the Bumaye Fight Club. They start with Dan Lambert, which it's revealed, maybe they had a falling out with the Bumaye Fight Club, or maybe not. They bring up Shane Taylor, which is an interesting one, considering he's over at Ring of Honor. Then they bring up someone kind of interesting, Wale, the rapper, who has connections with MLW with them showing up for Wale Mania, WrestleMania weekend. But then it is revealed, none of them are actually the Money Man, but we'll continue exploring this next week. Next up, we were supposed to get a Delmi Exo promo, getting her ready for Never Say Never, but then Taya Valkyrie attacks her from behind on the ramp, and it's a big old curb stomp on the stage, and that looked rough. Some officials got Taya backstage. She pretty much says, yeah, I did that, and I'd do it again any day of the week. This nobody didn't beat me, and I'm issuing a rematch. So, we're going to get that match at some point. It is then revealed that Delmi Exo is being challenged by Ava Everett, who is current WXW Women's Champion, for the MLW Featherweight Champion at Never Say Never. Then we also got the Openweight title match as Jacob Fatu defends against Calvin Tankman. Bit of a hoss fight, if you ask me. We got some title matches set, ready to go. And finally, our main event of the evening, as we got the Big Apple Grapple, in which Alex Kane is putting a bag of money on the line. And who answers the open challenge? Former WXW World Heavyweight Champion Shinsuke Ari. And they had a hoss fight. Like, I will say it wasn't the best match I've ever seen, but this was a dang good matchup. Real good back and forth. But end of the day, after Mark of Kane, your winner, Alex Kane. Then he gets on the mic, pretty much says, "Yeah, that was just a warm-up, brothers. Hammerstone, why don't you come out here? Why don't we not wait till Never Say Never? Let's get this done tonight." It looks like Hammerstone is about to oblige, but officials get in the way, and he's taken to the back. And, that ends MLW Fusion. This week in pro wrestling was a little bit weird, but I did enjoy myself for what we did have, and I hope you guys are ready to stay tuned because we got more coming. Now, here's what we're going to do. Sunday, I'm actually going to be going out for a bit, so I think Monday I'll give you my review for the rest of the week for wrestling. And then Tuesday, I'm going to review Money in the Bank, which is coming tomorrow, which I'm pretty hyped for. Hope you guys are too. Please like, comment, subscribe. What did you like about this week in pro wrestling? Are you excited for Money in the Bank? Let me know down below. And until next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.